Hi friends. So welcome to a T14 Hunter influenced map. We are going to kill the map boss. We're going to kill the hunter. We are going to kill the Metamorph associated with everything. And then we're gonna go kill Awakener 9. So this video was intended, you can see it, it's late. This video was actually intended to be earlier, but a certain somebody made a mistake and killed the boss, but didn't actually bother to kill the conqueror. Don't know who that could have been. Nope, not at all. So anyways, this build sort of has a launch sequence. So we put down our Ancestral Protector totems, we Berserk, and we then press General's Cry. General's Cry casts Blade Flurry, and things die. So after I kill the hunter, I'm going to go over all of my gear and everything else in the exhausting detail that the time capsules know and love. Oh yeah, we're on Awakener 9. So like I said, the damage is okay. Admittedly, this was a T14, so like you don't get to pick your maps. But yeah, so nice damage. Anyways, put away all the garbage here. Ooh, we got an offer. Anyways, random junk that won't matter because we're gonna do Sirus. So let's go over first. Let's go over our passive tree. So we have your standard General's Cry Berserker layout, Aspect of Carnage, Flawless Savagery, Blitz, and Warbringer. So basically just we are General's Crying a bunch. General's Cry gives us a bunch of rage. The rage gives us a bunch of beneficial things to blitz. And then we do useful stuff with it. Tree as a whole, pretty boring. In one more level, I will be able to drop these two nodes and connect up here so that I can get the jewel socket. Probably drop, because you can drop 5% life for a 7% jewel. But yeah, we got clusters. So large, basically just sort of your standard triple passive cluster that then channels into a channeling medium. This is actually how we get stun immunity with unwavering focus. Then we have a really nice exert cluster. Most of the time you will see people use 2 exert clusters rather than 1 channeling cluster and 1 exert cluster, and then take unwavering stance. But what this buys us, so lead by example, buys us a whole bunch of onslaught and just sort of stats, which is useful. And then Mob Mentality buys us charges. So this honestly, like, they should nerf this. This is dumb. Beyond that, we use a bunch of random other small jewels. We are looking for attack speed, life, and crit. So initially, so basically, your perfect jewel is crit multi, sword attack speed, which goes up to 6 or 7%, and then max life, right? Like, that's your perfect jewel. I'm poor, I can't afford 10x a jewel, so. We got Kitava's Teachings. Basically, just this eats corpses, because General's Cry uses corpses. The entire mechanic of the build is based around your cycloning. When you're cycloning to create corpses, when you press General's Cry, there's a bunch of fresh corpses out on the battlefield. Up pop Mirage Warriors and do their thing. So Disciple of Kitava is essentially just a free bunch of recovery and stuff. You need Call to Arms, because otherwise, like, your General's Cry would interrupt your Cyclone. We take a bunch of sword nodes. various HP, health, HP, all of the Warcry things, pretty much everywhere. We need Eagle Eye and Admonisher, so more Warcry stuff. Accuracy. This particular chunk is just like massive. Impales. You know, it's working on the Scion Life Wheel. We have a second large. Same stuff. Like really, there aren't better passives there. You know, just in terms of overall, like these nodes are absurd for their value, right? Just completely absurd. We have an Impale Watcher's Eye. Like just shock, right? Like any physical build that's using Impales, using an Impale Watcher's Eye. Who knew? And then yeah, more of these jewels. So that's pretty much all. I will swap out a Corrupted Blood Jewel for Awakener because I'm a coward, but you know, other than that, it's really. Let's see, which one will I swap out? I haven't actually thought about it. Probably this one. No, this is the chance multi. Oh, right. So that's the other thing. So I'm getting a full stun avoidance with Lucidity, which is 40% while I'm cycloning. This, which is the 10% stun implicit from Harvest. And then this, which is 10% stun implicit from Harvest. So we are doing sort of an end run around the usual method, which is getting Unwavering Stance, because that costs 3 points, and that's a pain. We don't want to do that. In terms of gear, so your standard General Sky Berserker, pretty much. Which paradoxic people use varies some. I'm using the Blood Rage one. Technically, if you are being like super optimal, you use the Blind on Hit one with quality, and then you actually give up Leap Slam to socket Blood Rage manually, right? And then you tie Blood Rage to enhance. But I'm not doing that because I'm lazy, so we will have slightly less on bosses, but it doesn't really matter. This does so much damage. We have a General's Cry +1 Mirage Warriors. This is obviously just an absurd amount of damage. And then nearby enemies take increased physical damage. This is the non-elevated version. Theoretically, I could throw a Maven Orbit this and get a double whammy of getting rid of the burning damage and increasing the physical damage to 9. But we're not in a gambling mood right now. Red Blade Banner. This is the thing that sort of drives the build. Warcries have infinite power. It means that every time you press your Warcry, you get infinite rage. It's got a bunch of max life and armor. And your Warcries come back really fast. So that's what lets you get General's Cry down to like 1.5 seconds. Lucidity. So I'm using a stat neck. Basically just like a bunch of life. A whole mess of stats. Like this is essentially an Astromentis for all intents and purposes. Plus like a bunch of fizz damage and the attack speed. Here we just have sort of another fixer, more dex, accuracy rating, which gets me to 100%. I have to actually pay attention to accuracy on this build, which is a pain because we're not getting it on the tree. And then resists and non-channeling to mana cost so that we can actually cast our General's Cry on a regular basis. The chest. So this is a work in progress. If this were a completed version of the build, this would be a double curse chest. We would have elevated crit. We would have elevated attack crit rather than attack crit spell crit, and then probably crafted life or whatever additional prefix, right? Because the sort of perfect version of the build is this chest replaces the increased armor stun recovery with double curse, and then has max life, crafted max life as sort of your sort of finished version per se. So chest is a work in progress, but really like the base crit is the important part. We've got that, so we're good. The other ring, this one's sort of boring. Like it's just like a non-channeling. I didn't even bother with the max craft because I don't need it. That's because we have these gloves. So this is where these gloves are why I'm broke right now. We have really nice Hands of the High Templar. So it's vulnerability on hit. Vulnerability is our primary curse. We would be applying Assassin's Mark if we had the double curse chest, but we don't. Attack speed, base crit. So like between these two, we have a whole mess of base crit. And then max life and some resistance. Belt, just Rislatha's Coil. I got super unlucky. Like I had three chances at enchantments in the Uber lab, and this is the best one I got. Theoretically, this could be 48, 36. It doesn't really matter, right? Like again, like we are doing a lot of damage. But Rislatha's Coil, just like the ability to do a ton of max physical damage. Like this is by far the most damage you can get out of the belt slot. We're in softcore, so it's fine. And then supported by Fortify Boots. This is where our Cyclone setup lives. And so Cyclone has infused channeling, so we're getting damage reduction every time we're channeling. So General's Cry, Blade Flurry. So we have a Blade Flurry. Blade Flurry supported by Impale. Then we have General's Cry, so the Mirage Warriors that show up will cast Blade Flurry. We have a bunch of supports. So we're using Awaken Melee Fizz, Pulverize. This can be swapped out with Concentrated Effect. I don't do, like, it is theoretically better to swap out with Concentrated Effect. It reduces the AoE enough that I don't really like doing it unless I absolutely have to. And so we'll see if I need to on Awakener 9. But yeah, so basically just you have a bunch of physical supports associated with Blade Flurry, and so you spawn corpses, General's Cry, and then you can see the Mirage Warriors show up, and if there were enemies here, they would cast Blade Flurry. Let's see, what else? In terms of flasks, then we got a Thief's Trinket that just gives me rogue markers. This is the highest one that I've gotten thus far. We have a Seething Divine Flask of Staunching. Shock, horror, right? Like, nothing changed there. This will actually be a Bottled Faith when I get enough money. I have been spending my money on stupid things instead of the Bottled Faith. So, yeah. But basically the way this works is like when you take a crit, you get back both ward and it does the heal effect. So, because it's in the same server frame, what ends up happening is that if you are not just directly one-shot, this will by the Savage Hit, this will trigger and heal you. Granite Flask of Heat, just your standard, like, if you get frozen, become unfrozen. We use Granite because armor's compounds for us, and that's nice. We have a Lion's Roar, more damage, yay. And a Diamond Flask that also reduces our shock. So our sort of launch sequence, like the thing that we are supposed to be doing is we put down our Ancestral Protector Totems, do this, whatever we are fighting will spawn, we will activate our 2 damage flasks, Berserk, and then General's Cry, right? Like that's our launch sequence. And then if we have extra corpses around, we will cast Ancestral War Chief as well as Ancestral Protector Totem, so we get both of the extra fizz, damage, and the attack speed. So why am I telling you this? Why does this matter? Because Blade Flurry General's Cry has a very hard sort of cutoff. Basically, like every 0.6 seconds, the minions spawned by the General's Cry will disappear. So if you do not fully channel Blade Flurry within the 0.6 seconds that the minions are active, they will just go away. And so it won't pop, right? And so Blade Flurry has, like, one of the big things is you unleash an additional hit at the end when it pops. And that's what causes all the damage. So, yeah. Anyways, we are... I think, yeah, this is probably the best one. Couple different options for Corrupted Blood immunity. can see this guy. So we're doing corrupted blood immunity, even just sort of as like, be absolutely sure, right? But anyways, like this build does about, without flasks, 40-ish million damage, and then with flasks it does like 51 million. I think I just broke. So that's really cool, right? Like it just does absolutely absurd damage. So anyways, I've stalled enough. Let's go kill Awakener 9. Because this is the time capsule for the League. As mentioned, it's late. I'm tipsy. I will probably die. That's okay. It's softcore. Like the Berserker. One thing about the Berserker is it's definitely much more fragile than the characters I typically play. Because I typically play characters that are patterned around hardcore solo self-found, and so you know, I'll have like 7,000 health or whatever, and that's not the case this time. Or like, you know, full ailment immunity, max chaos res. Like if you go back and look at the vortex that I did, right, like that was like a super tanky character. This one is not, but it makes up for that in damage. So yeah, this character has been really fun to play. Expedition really gets sort of a bad rap. This League has been rough. And honestly, like, I've only got 25 challenges right now, despite too much /played. But the thing is, this character just has so much room to grow, right? Like, there's always more that I can be doing. Like, I spent like a whole bunch of time talking about like all the gear upgrades that I could be getting and all that stuff, and yeah, that's just something that's really neat, right? Like whereas like the Vortex Occultist, like I very quickly hit the point where I was sort of capped, right? Like, you know, I had gotten very good gear. The best gear was all like 50 plus exalts, and I was like, okay, well, why bother? So anyways, let's go kill a Sirus. Or we will do that. I did say it was late. That was actually really funny. All that talking, all that build up, and then I immediately walk into a vortex and die. This is why I play on softcore. That was actually just okay. Yeah, bottom.
What's this? A real talent.
So here's our launch sequence, right? And so you could see there he actually went like sort of invulnerable and did nothing, despite like channeling stuff. That was that was cute. Anyways, get him to come down. I'm not playing well tonight. That was yeah. But you can see I've phased him twice despite all of that nonsense. And so now imagine I was doing it with, instead of a ward flask that isn't preventing me from getting one shot because, like, you know, it can't prevent one shots. Like, that was a bottled faith, right? I was doing 20-ish% more damage between the crit and everything else. So we have to do phase 2 twice, which is on me. So yeah, you can see phasing effectively.
Cannot do this yet.
Well, this is sort of an accurate time capsule of what bossing on this character sometimes looks like. If I'm not with it, if I'm not, you know, focused. Just standing in anything where, like, a lot of my other characters, you know, if you think about back to, like, the Vortex character, or, like, the Mana Guardian, right? Like, the Mana Guardian literally could take a bath in the storms and be totally fine. This character cannot. At all. So anyways, we are finally to phase 3 with, like, 3 stupid deaths. And he's dead. So that's the part of the build that I was going to try and show off. You know, obviously there's some nice loot. Again, this is Awakener 9. Yeah. It's gone smoother than that in the past, but hey, that's life. So maybe I'll do another one of these with more gear. But can't complain about an Awakener's Orb and a Thread of Hope. I guess I should ID the Thread of Hope for content. Oh, we got a medium. Okay. Not a large, but... And it's a -13. We're probably dividing that. Anyways. That's the time capsule for this league. I'm sorry that it was tired. I'm sorry that I'm sort of scruffy. 550 odd days of quarantine will do that to you. So... Me and my mustache, say goodbye. Take care, friends.